Great. So next up, we have the Savannah College of Art and Design. SCAD is a high-ranking university and was named Red Dot Design's top US university for the fourth consecutive year and was named the #1 best college shaping the future of fashion in 2021 by Forbes. Please welcome Peter May.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. Nice to see your names. My name is Peter, and thanks for the intro, Hannah. Those are a few of our accolades. We've got many others. In fact, one of the things that you're going to learn when you see my presentation is that we have really a lot of programs. So we have other programs as well that are highly ranking. These rankings, it's very complicated because each school, has a lot of different programs. And in SCAD's case, as you'll learn, we have around 40 different majors. And there's a lot of, entities out there that are constantly providing rankings. But I definitely encourage you to look at us regardless of what your field of study is, because we have, I think, some degree of expertise and in all of our programs. So just to introduce myself again, my name is Peter May. I'm actually connecting to you here. I'm actually physically here in Vancouver right now. I've been visiting schools and doing presentations about SCAD this week. But normally I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where one of our campuses is. I'm an admission advisor and I work with students who apply from Canada. So if you do apply to SCAD, you're actually looking at the person who's going to handle your application right now. So make sure to jot down my contact information, which I'll put in the chat box in a few minutes, so that you can follow up with me if you think of other questions or if you do decide that you want to start an application later on. In addition to being an admission advisor and working at SCAD, I also went to art school. So I had that experience as well. I studied painting and printmaking, but I've been long connected with the arts and I've been working at SCAD for 11 years now. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to queue up my presentation and share my screen and I will get started here. So let me just go ahead and do that. Share screen and present. Now, I do want to just warn you that there's a couple of videos. I'll start with a video, and if for some reason it's just spotty and it just doesn't come through well on your end, will you please just turn on your mic and interrupt me and let me know, and I can easily skip over the videos as well. But if it works, it's great, and it's a great little introduction to SCAD. So I'm going to start with a video. And again, just turn on your mic and let me know if it's not coming through. Sometimes it doesn't stream well. So here's a little intro to SCAD.
I'm driven to create.
To be expressive.
To collaborate with only the best and across disciplines.
The most exciting field to be in is design, because a designer has to think about people, about technology, about the activities that are taking place. It gives you the license to explore and investigate and to try to create a system that enhances life.
All you have to do is create. SCAD's really great at giving all the students the ability to build things, to make things.
We have immersive reality, the latest AR/VR equipment, and we're super proud to say that we're the first creative university to have an XR stage. This is a whole new paradigm for shooting, film, and visual effects.
SCAD's teaching philosophy is built on design thinking. With programs like the Business of Beauty and Fragrance, SCAD students go on to become entrepreneurs and pursue creative careers with top companies around the world.
SCAD does an amazing job at making industry connections and making things available to students that might not be otherwise possible.
Hey, bees.
Hey, SCAD.
Hello, SCAD.
I absolutely love SCAD.
It's been amazing to have SCAD as a touchpad for resources, for inspiration, for people that just really believe in you and will do whatever they can to help you succeed.
I am a designer.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Storyteller. Thanks to SCAD, my future as a creative professional is real. It's happening.
You are the next incarnation of this beautiful planet that needs design, that needs beauty. That needs your mind and your spirit and your energy, your power, your unique voice.
This is SCAD.
To graduate as salutatorian here as the first member of my family to attend a college in the US, it's just an incredible honor.
Because of SCAD, I am doing what I really truly love to do. It's been a blessing.
All right. Well, I guess I didn't hear from anybody, so I'm guessing that looked good on your end too and was clear enough. So just to introduce you a little bit to SCAD. So SCAD is Savannah College of Art and Design. And we have, like I said, so many programs. We actually have more art and design majors and minors than any other university and any other art and design university in the United States. So we're definitely one of the biggest art and design universities. And if you look over this list, you're going to see a lot of traditional majors that you're familiar with, that you might think of when you think of going off to an art school. Things like our fine arts, like photography, painting, printmaking, sculpture, that kind of thing. But we also have, of course, all the commercial arts that you're familiar with, like graphic design, interior design, fashion design, and so on. And then there's probably majors on here that you didn't even think of before. Some of the new emerging technologies. This is a reflection of our commitment to respond to industry. As you'll learn as you start to research, studying in the States, private institutions in the States are expensive. It's the way that our system is set up. And the reason it's set up like that is because it's an investment in your future career. So rather than just looking at the school, which of course is important, rather than just looking at what the student experience is, which again is very important, I also encourage you to look beyond that and to look at where the students are working, where the graduates are working, what kind of jobs are they getting, what kind of salaries are they getting, and so on, because those kinds of things are important if you're going to make that kind of investment. And with that in mind, we have actually been able to develop our program and create programs based partly on what we're hearing from companies in terms of what their interest is and what kind of creative people they're hoping to hire. So things like immersive reality, designing VR experiences, the business of beauty and fragrance is a new major that we added recently, again, in response to industry, letting us know that that's what they need. So when you add all these together, we have around 40 majors, but we also have around 75 minors. So there's more than 100 degree programs that you can really pursue. So the system is really great for those of us, if you're like me, where you're interested in many things. You're not just focused on one thing, but you're interested in many things because it gives you an opportunity to try out all of these different fields of study. Now, if you happen to be more of a tech person or a science person or a math person, I just want to reassure you that there's also a place for you at SCAD. A lot of fields like our industrial design program, animation, architecture, these are fields that really marry creativity with that more scientifical side of and analytical side of your brain. There's math, there's science that's involved in all of those fields. A great story is one of our alumni, his name's Eric Dunshee. He came to SCAD a few years ago, and he was really interested in engineering and mechanics, but he also had this creative side. Like a lot of us, he had, he was somebody that was interested in a lot of different things. And so when he came to SCAD, he eventually majored in industrial design. And what he's doing now is he's a designer for Honda motorcycles. And obviously, if you're designing motorcycles, yeah, you get to be creative. You get to do these drawings and these concept drawings of machines that haven't been made yet. But you also have to have an understanding of the science behind it, and how, how much room whether it's carburetor, it has a carburetor or not, or if it's fuel injected, or if it has a radiator, or if it's air cooled, and all of that kind of things that goes into the mechanics of a motorcycle. Now, again, Hannah mentioned some of the rankings, but there's many more. In fact, if that's something that's really interesting to you, I encourage you to just Google SCAD ratings and rankings or something like that, and you'll find like a whole page that we maintain as we get different accolades that come in from different institutions. But this is the number which I think is more interesting and more important for your decision as far as where to apply and where to go for your degree than the ratings, because you could be a very top rated school, and if they're graduating students from that school and they're not getting jobs, or not very many of them are, or they're not getting good jobs, then you've just spent a lot of money and a lot of time without much on the other end of that. And we're very obsessed with making sure that our students are actually getting amazing jobs when they graduate, to the point where we've worked really hard on this, but we have a 99% alumni rate. That's 99% of our students within 10 months of graduating are either working or they're going on to further study, or both. And we've maintained that number for the last 4 years, including spring of 2020, which is the last time that 10-month mark passed and we were able to complete a survey. But if you remember what was going on then, that was the height of the pandemic, and we were still able to get that number. Prior to the previous 4 years, we were at 98% and 97%. So it's something that we've been doing for quite a while. A lot of my presentation really focuses on that, because it's really looking beyond, what you do as an actual student. Another thing that's unique about SCAD is our locations. So I mentioned that we're called Savannah College of Art and Design. We were founded in Savannah in 1978. We're about 43 years old now. But we also have a location in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I work normally, as well as in Lacoste, which is in France, in the south of France, near to Marseille. As well as e-learning, which we call SCAD now. Once you're accepted to SCAD, you're accepted to all of these locations, and you can actually change campus whenever you want. So it's an interesting part of your experience as a SCAD student, is that you're not really stuck in one place at any point. You can change whenever you want. So I always encourage students to take advantages of these different locations, because each one has a really different feel to it, of course. That's another video. I'll kind of skip over that. I'm just paying attention to the time here. That just shows some of the locations. I will show one more video about creative careers in a few minutes, but let me just tell you a little bit more about the university. So we have around 15,000 students from all over the world. So that's from more than 100 different countries. About 26% of our students are international. So they're coming in from outside of the US. So it's a very diverse place. I'm putting some companies up here. I don't mean to imply that these are the only places that SCAD students, graduates are working, but these are a few of the places that they're working. And the reason why I'm highlighting these companies is just to drive home the point. I think the last presenter did a great job of doing this as well, which is that nowadays, if you have the skills in a creative field, there's a lot of opportunity for you out there in the workplace. And these are companies that obviously they make good products. When you have an iPhone, for example, from Apple, when the phone rings, you answer it and you can talk on the phone. It works. It's a phone and it works. It also does all the other things, and like you expect, the apps work. When you click on them, they open. You can access the internet, all of the things that we expect from our phones these days. But that's not why they're successful. There was a lot of brilliant computer engineers and engineers that went into designing that and making it so that it worked and kudos to them for doing that, because that's amazing what they've been able to do. But that's not why Apple is so successful. It's not just because they made something that worked. It's also because they made something that was designed well. And they figured out pretty early on, and really were one of the leaders, that if you invest in the creative side of your workforce, you will become more profitable. And this is something that we've seen over and over again. And these 6 companies, that I'm highlighting, all realize that. And so they actually invest a lot in their creative workforce. So there's an old myth that used to be around when I was going to art school, that you would become a starving artist, and that's just not true anymore. Our students are doing amazing things. So just a few examples of recent alumni: Christopher John Rogers, who here in the center studied fashion, and he actually put together a team of people that were his classmates, actually studying other majors, industrial design, writing, and so on. And they started a fashion line, and now he's featured as part of the fall collection for Target. He's also dressed a lot of celebrities like Rihanna and Michelle Obama. And if you saw the inauguration of President Biden last January, next to him was Kamala Harris, our vice president, wearing a suit that Christopher John Rogers designed. So he's one example. I also really highly encourage you to look at us if you're thinking about studying film, any aspect of film, whether it's film or production design or dramatic writing, like writing screenplays, sound design, performing arts. We have all of those programs. And right now in Georgia, which is, again, where 2 of our campuses are located, Savannah and Atlanta, Georgia, we're #1 for film and TV production in the States, above Hollywood, above New York. There's more productions happening right now in Georgia than there are in Hollywood or in New York, but there's far fewer people who are actually applying for jobs with film and TV because it's a younger industry in our state. And because of that, there's a real opportunity for our students to get involved with film and TV. And all of our students are working on all of the major productions that you and I enjoy by streaming all the time. Things like Walking Dead and Stranger Things and Vampire Diaries. They're currently shooting Black Panther 2 because we have Pinewood Studios, which does all the Marvel movies, is based outside of Atlanta. That's being shot right now in Atlanta, and we have students working on it. And it's not that hard to get on these sets. So if you're thinking about that as a possible career path, you definitely need to look at us. So lots of examples of successful students. I could go on, and I could tell you plenty of students from my own experience. But let's look at this video on creative careers, and then we'll go on from here.
My 2 greatest lessons that I learned from SCAD were learning the structure of the industry and a strong work ethic, but I think you really hone those skills at SCAD.
The idea of collaboration with all majors happens so naturally at SCAD that it really is an outlet of incredible bursts of energy.
SCAD is constantly staying very aware of industry trends and therefore kind of adapting curriculum to play into that and be able to have students be very prepared for real life after graduation.
Just seeing the depth, the amount of detail the students put in, and when you bring in people from all of those different disciplines together, it's really amazing what they can create.
It really opens a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities become real possibilities here.
SCAD offers lifelong support to alumni, whether you're seeking to advance in your creative career, launch your own venture, reconnect with your alumni network, or collaborate with SCAD.
It's that network of support and encouragement, which is so critical to the success of myself and other people who are coming from SCAD.
We are always top of mind with industry partners. So we connect with productions from Amazon, from Hulu, from NBC, CBS, you name it. These are lifelong relationships that you build here. We will always have your back and we will always look for ways to continue your success.
Because of SCAD, I got my dream job at Disney.
HBO Max,
Netflix,
IBM, Lenovo,
Pixar Animation Studio. I got my dream job at Epic Games.
Okay, so one of the things that's kind of interesting about the US system is when you, if you're starting as a freshman, when you apply, you're actually applying just for admission to the university. You're not necessarily applying for a specific major. That's kind of true as well for transfer students, although with transfer students, if you're coming in with some college credit, we will specifically ask you what major you're interested in so that we can do a credit evaluation and see how many credits can transfer in over to that major. But if you did start at the beginning, you would start with some foundation classes, things like drawing, color theory, composition, and so on, which are really important as just a basis for visual communication, whether you end up going into architecture or fashion design or graphic design. It doesn't really matter. You do have to have that kind of basis. We do have small class sizes. So the average class size is around 14 students. You'll never have a class with more than 20 students in it at SCAD. And this is a great benefit because it gives you a lot of one-on-one interaction time with your professors, and your professors are all industry professionals. So take, for example, Professor Moore. She is one of the professors in our Business of Beauty and Fragrance program, and she's on the board at Estee Lauder. So who better to have, working side by side with for that program. Or Professor Gallagher is chair of the animation department. If you take a class with him, he's a Disney animator. And he also he does projects for things like electronic arts, for video game animation and so on. So he's the best person, that he's one of the best people in the world to have on as part of your network when you're out there looking for internships or jobs. And it goes on and on. All of our professors are also industry professionals. There's a lot of great technology resources that are available to students. I mean, we have all the latest technology, computer labs and so on. This is an XR stage, which is this, if you're interested at all in visual effects and filmmaking, this should be super exciting to you because I think we're the only school that has these, and we have two of them, one in Atlanta and one in Savannah. This is the technology that they use for a lot of special effects nowadays. If you've seen the Mandalorian series, it was entirely shot on an XR stage. And we have access to it. The other thing that's fun about SCAD is we've got museums located both in Savannah and Atlanta. In Savannah, it's the SCAD Museum of Art. In Atlanta, it's the SCAD Museum of Fashion and Film. This is an exhibit, for example, of the costume designs by the costume designer for Black Panther that showed recently. And our students work at these museums, so you have a chance to have that experience as well as a student. They mentioned in the video, one of the professors mentioned industry collaboration. And I just want to point out that in addition to doing traditional internships where you go out and work for a company and get class credit for that internship, we also have companies coming into SCAD and doing industry collaboration projects where they might do an assignment for SCAD students. So some recent examples of that, for example, Uber did a project with us related to a concept car that they were developing, where they had worked with actually our interior design department to design the interior of the car, as well as the interior of the ports where the cars were docking. That sounds really confusing, but it was a flying car, the concept car that they were working on. So that's what the project was. It was very conceptual. Another project, let's say fashion, if you're interested in fashion, Delta Airlines a few years ago, their standard uniform for Delta Airlines was sort of a boring conservative blue uniform. And a few years ago, they replaced it by working with a famous fashion designer with this more striking kind of purple uniform that they use now. And when you fly Delta, you'll see it. But they noticed that when they did this redesign, that the flight attendants and the gate agents weren't wearing the scarf. They had spent all these millions of dollars on this redesign, and then there was a part of it that they weren't using, and they weren't using it because it wasn't comfortable and the clasping mechanism didn't fit right. So they worked with a group of SCAD students to do a redesign of that with a fashion class, and they chose one of the students' designs. So now when you fly Delta and you see that scarf, you know it was designed by a SCAD student. And we have hundreds of those projects that have happened over time. Just the other day, I ran into one of the students that I worked with from Brazil who is doing a SCAD Pro, like an industry collaboration project with Lenovo computers, for example. And this is, you know, a slide of a student that did one of those projects for them using user experience. As a user experience design major, she was offered a job right there on the spot. So lots of cool examples of that. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip forward a little bit, just share that we have these amazing events. And then one of the things that's really unique about SCAD, if you happen to be a competitive athlete, in addition to art and design, I think we're the only art school that I've ever heard of that has athletics. So you definitely should look at us because you can get some great athletic scholarships for that. This is an image of SCAD Atlanta. That tower on the right side of your screen is called 40. That's actually a residence hall. So that's where you would live if you decided to live on campus and study in Atlanta. We have similar buildings in Savannah. Atlanta is much more of a big urban place. Savannah is more of a quiet historical city, smaller city near the coast. Now, if you were to apply to SCAD, the first step is really just filling in the application form. You can fill that in on our website anytime. We have rolling admissions, so there's not a deadline to apply. And we're also on the quarter system with 10-week academic terms starting 4 times a year in September, January, March, and June. So that's fall, winter, spring, and summer. And so that first step is just to complete the application form. Once you do that, it will come through to me. I will be your admission advisor if you apply and you're from Canada, because I work with all our Canadians, and I'll help you to complete it. And the 3 things that you'll need to complete your application. One is you'll need a copy of your transcripts. So if you've already started university, those would be your university transcripts. If you just completed high school, those would be your high school transcripts. The second thing is a portfolio. And the third thing is what we call a resume. It's not really necessarily focused on work experience, although that's great if you have some. What we're interested in is all of your outside of class activities, things like work experience, volunteer experience, sports, hobbies, languages, skills, cool projects you've worked on, and so on. With those 3 things, your transcripts, your portfolio, and your resume, you will be automatically reviewed for scholarships. They're merit-based. There's 2 of them. One of them is based on your academic history, and one of them is based on your what we call an achievement scholarship, which is based on your portfolio and resume. And then at that point, you know, if you did decide to come or you're thinking about it, I would definitely encourage you to visit. And you can always do a virtual tour on our website anytime. I'm going to end with a slide that just shows my contact information. There's my Instagram handle if you want to follow me. I can't promise a lot of great content because I stay pretty busy. But let me also in the chat box put my contact information. I'll just leave it up here, but I'm also going to just type my email address. So here you go. My name is Peter May from SCAD, and my email address is pmay@scad.edu. And while I'm typing that, does anybody feel brave and want to either in the chat box or turn on their mic, just ask a question? I think we have 2 minutes. So there's time for 2 questions. And if not, no problem. I just want to say very happy to answer questions privately. Just make sure to jot down my email and be in touch. And I can always arrange a Zoom meeting with you. I can do a portfolio review. I'm always happy to help with that, or just to answer general questions about applying to colleges in the US. Always happy to impart my knowledge in that regard. So just hit me up and let me know. I am in Vancouver, but unfortunately I'm heading home tomorrow just as the weather's starting to clear. But I'm sure I'll be back at some point too. So thank you very much for inviting me, Hannah. And if you have questions that come up later on, feel free to direct students my way.
Will do. Thank you so much, Peter, for your presentation. It was super informative and fascinating. If you could please continue on to the portfolio review room, we have Maggie, Ann, and a student waiting for you there.